neighbors. This is Music Festivals Podcast, the show that helps you get to know popular concert venues and music festivals before you go. I'm your host, Neighbor Nate, and I'm glad you're in the neighborhood. Hey, yo, neighbors, it's Neighbor Nate, and this is Season 1, Episode 9 of the Music Festivals Podcast, the show that helps you get to know music festivals and festival venues before you go. This week, we are recapping Lazy Jam in Hartsville, Indiana. What a great festival. But first, we're going to get to the news, so let's get right into it. Big news this week. In Legend Valley, it was Lost Lands, and Lost Lands is that great big EDM festival, but unfortunately, there was some weird stuff that went on at Lost Lands. So a gentleman by the name of Noah Curtis, age 24, from Westerville, Ohio, which is not too far from where I live. He was arrested Sunday night at Legend Valley because he decided to drive his car into several tents. The crash occurred around 2:30 a.m. on Sunday, and two people were injured, unfortunately. A man was treated on site, and the female, unfortunately, had to go to Mount Carmel East Hospital, which is in Columbus. Rumor has it that she had a broken hip. It was a non-life-threatening injury, so I think she's going to be okay. But Curtis is going to face vehicular assault charges, and rightly so. Who the fuck is driving through? Number one, why are you driving your car at a festival Sunday night at 2 a.m. in the morning? That doesn't make any sense. And if you've ever seen any pictures from Lost Lands, clearly there's like 1.5 billion people there. So getting in your car in general is not a great idea. So yeah, I guess you're going to jail because you're a dumbass, but I am glad that the people are okay that were injured by this guy's vehicle. Next up, CaveFest has announced the schedule. So I will be at CaveFest at least for one day. I've got a bunch of family stuff going on that weekend, but I am going to try to make it down to Pelham, Tennessee for at least one day and one night. It is October 11th through the 13th, 2024, down in Pelham, Tennessee at the Caverns, which is a great venue. And they've released the schedule. Larry Keel Experience, Sacred Hollow. I saw Sacred Hollow the last two times I was there. They're playing on Friday night, and then Yonder Mountain String Band as well. Always fun to see those guys. They do late night with air show each night in the cave, which is a super cool show if you've never been there, because they do such an interesting thing. That's 11:30 p.m. to 1 a.m. Pixie and the Partygrass Boys was somebody who was at the last CaveFest. I was there, and Lindsay Lou is the artist in residence. So not only is Lindsay Lou going to play, but chances are she's going to be sitting in with everybody else. John Milliander's Forecast is on Saturday, and unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to get there for that. I'm probably only going to be able to get there for most of Sunday's show, but I will get to see Bella Fleck and Abigail Washburn, which I'm really excited because I haven't ever seen them play. Jim Lauderdale and the Game Changers is another one. In fact, this Sunday lineup in the amphitheater looks great. Traveling McCurry's, Grateful Ball featuring traveling McCurry's and special guests. So you kind of do a big question mark of who's going to be there. And then there's complete, jams in the cave and everything else. So if you are not going to CaveFest, what is nice about CaveFest is the tickets are super cheap. 3-day GA festival pass with free camping included for just $149. You can still get these tickets. It's a massive venue. So check out CaveFest in the Caverns. It's going to be a great festival as always. I think they're on their 3rd or 4th year. I can't remember which one it is, but always fun to go down to Pelham and hang out at the Caverns for a little bit. And in recent news, Sonic Temple 2025 has released its lineup, or at least some of the headliners that are going to be there, and Metallica is one of them. Now, I'm not hugely into like hard rock, metal rock, or anything, but I did see Metallica at Bonnaroo 2008, and man, that was a hell of a show. So definitely check out this Sonic Temple Festival is a Columbus local festival. It's held at the historic Crew Stadium because they built the new Crew Stadium, and this is the one that's directly off of 71. You pass it as you're going into Columbus, but you've got Metallica coming in, Rob Zombie, which is something, Alice in Chains, Citizen Soldier, Alice Cooper, for God's sake. Like, that would be worth going to see Alice Cooper in general. And they're going to announce more artists soon. These tickets are not cheap. So if you want to get in on the pre-sale, the code is SONICHCS, I think. I don't know how you actually say that. SONICHCS. And if you enter that, that's going to get you into the pre-sale. Pre-sale on this for a 4-day stadium GA pass is $299 plus about $45 for a fee. So you're looking at about $350 $150 with tax. If you want to do the 4-day stadium 4-pack, you can get a little bit of a deal on that at $11.59. So call it $1,200 plus 200 with tax is going to be about $1,400. This is not a cheap festival, right? At all. Sonic Temple is not a cheap festival, but it is a great Columbus local festival that's a national act, and it's happening May 8th and the 9th and the 10th and the 11th, 2025 in Columbus at the historic Crew Stadium. So give that a look if you're into that. So for this week, we are going to get back into Lazy Jam in Hartsville, Indiana. Very excited about that. But before that, make sure if you're listening to the audio show on your favorite podcast network that you head over to the Music Festivals podcast channel on YouTube. That is at Music Festivals Podcast, all one word. That is where you're going to get the visuals and the videos. You can subscribe to the audio too. If you're watching on the YouTube, you can go back and you can listen to it in your car by subscribing wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're so inclined to get on the inside of this little conspiracy, go ahead and join the neighborhood at musicfestivalspodcast.com. There's an email box right when you go to that website. Drop your first name, last name. I don't even think I asked for your last name. I think it's just first name, email address, and a quick question about how many music festivals you go to per year. And that will get you on the email list. We're going to launch that email newsletter in October, so stay tuned for that. Up this week, we are recapping Lazy Jam number 6 in Hartsville, Indiana. I was at Lazy Jam too. This is the first time I've been back since then, and it was an incredible festival. Stellar performances from all the bands. Stay tuned for a list of bands that you're going to need to know about, because there's some shit that went down, and unfortunately I do not have the video coverage of this festival that I was hoping to get. It's a little bit disappointing, but I do have some feature videos of the performances. We're going to get to that right after we have a short break, and I play you a little bit of a depressing video.
Neighbors, it's neighbor Nate. I really enjoyed being at Lazy Jam with all of you and shooting video, and you guys were all so nice. But unfortunately, I don't think any of it's ever going to get up because it's gone. I got home last night at about 11:30. I was super tired. I locked my shit up in my truck. I had the bag on the ground and everything. I should have brought it in. I'm a dumbass. Came out this morning to find my truck window broken into and all my shit gone. All my cameras, all my cards, all the footage that I took from the weekend, the cool ass fucking drone shots of all the bands performing, it's all gone. What's ironic to me is that I went to the festival and left this shit laying in the field and nobody touched it the entire weekend. All of you were so respectful and kind, and that's what you get at a music festival. And I come back to the city and I park a locked truck behind my house with security cameras. I have 2 security cameras on my truck. I have video of these fuckers. Literally with their faces, breaking into my truck, messing up my door, stealing all my stuff. So I got to figure out how to fix all this, because I'm supposed to go to Renewal and shoot video there in like 3 days. But what I'm most disappointed is that I had amazing footage of the festival that I wanted to share with you guys, of Magnolia Boulevard and the Debutantes and Ed McGee and Yonder and all these guys who just did stellar performances this weekend. And it's all fucking gone because some bastards can't fucking keep their hands to themselves. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry that this happened, and I'm sorry that you probably won't get to see Lazy Jam this year. It is what it is. Neighbor Nate.
So that was Sunday. I'm not going to lie. It's been a little bit of a rough weekend and week. I had such a great time at Lazy Jam. And the performances were so good. And then to wake up Sunday morning, and I was actually talking to my wife about all the great footage that I had when we got a ring on the doorbell and went out, and a kind neighbor lady who was walking by told me that my window was all over the ground. And so I ran out to find everything gone in my truck. This is the 4th time. This is the 4th time where I live that my truck has been broken into like this. But I am the dumbass because I was really tired. I drove from Hartsville, Indiana back to Columbus. I left the festival at like 8:30 or 9. I didn't get back till 11:30 or 12. I was exhausted. It was one of those, you've all been there, the white knuckle drives where you're like trying to stay awake and you keep almost dozing off. So by the time I got home, I grabbed the cooler, I went inside, I talked to my son, I got a shower. I had every intention to go back and unload my gear, and I just fell asleep. And that was a big mistake. So that'll never happen again. But just know, like, if you are the person who's, if you're a subscriber, if you stole the gear, fine, whatever. I got insurance, that sucks. But it would be really nice if you'd mail me back the cards. Clearly, you know my address. So if you have any type of heart in you, I would really at least like the cards back with the footage so I could put those up online because there was great performances in there and that's not worth anything to you. You're not going to sell those cards for anything. So be kind, mail me back the cards. It would just, karma's a bitch and that would be a way to like counteract bad karma. But everything turned out okay, right? Again, gear can be replaced and we're back in business. So Lazy Jam was an incredible experience. I want to give a special shout out to my new friend John Yates because John came up and introduced himself to me. He knows OJ. I think he's OJ's wife's cousin or something like that. But he's been helping OJ at the venue. OJ Wilson is the person who keeps the festival going. And John went out of his way to really kind of show me around and not just show me around in the middle of the one under set break. We took a walking tour of the camp, but then he introduced me to everybody. So Lazy Acres is a small farm in Hartsville, Indiana. It's 2 miles down a beautiful road. And I mean, literally a beautiful road. You're driving down this dirt road, gorgeous farms on either side. You pass a section where you go around this like 90-degree turn and there's a cow farm there and the cows are all just sitting there looking at you. And then you pass these wonderful horse farms that have big pillars in front of them. It's really just a gorgeous country out there, right? Pastures everywhere you look, beautiful, beautiful scenery. The property itself is incredible, right? So you go back in, as you're going in, one thing to note is that it's a sharp right turn. So you're coming down the road and you have to make almost a complete 180 to get into the venue. So if you have a camper, right, if you're towing a camper, you're going to want to go past the house. There's a little turnaround in the field. There's a dirt road where you can pull in, back up, back the camper out, and then angle yourself to get back into the venue. But other than that, it's a wonderful little venue. There's wooded camping everywhere that you go. They've done a great job really like clearing out a bunch of different areas in the woods. It almost reminds me of Nelson Ledges a little bit, where it's got all the same features. Wooded camping, it's got a lake. It's not a swimming lake or a kayaking lake, but it's good for fishing. There's fish in there. I saw people catching fish. There's a little pontoon dock that you can go out and fish from. Plenty of shade, plenty of field. The sound and the lighting for such a small venue, they've really invested in this. I was so impressed. I mean, you'll see some of the lighting in the video, but lights on the trees. There was this mist thing they did where they're pumping out fog and then shooting laser lights across the top of the stage. And it gave such a cool effect, right? But for a small venue with a small stage, it was really, really incredible. So as you're in there, you go through these various different camps, and if you go around where the field was, there's the camp back door, and I met those folks too, but they're the back entrance of the camp, and they call themselves the back door. So you go in the back door, you go out the back door. That is what it is. Camp Lazy, which is OJ's camp and all the family members and the close friends, that's along the lake. And then you can go to the peninsula, right? So the peninsula is out where there's going to be a lot of campers and it's a dead end into the lake, but it's really cool how they've got it laid out. And in between the peninsula and everything else, there's a great big field. What's fantastic about Lazy Jam is that it's still, and again, I haven't been there in 4 years, but it still has that camp out feel, meaning that you almost don't feel that you're at a festival. You feel that you're in a backyard camp out with a group of all of your friends. And it's really, really a nice time. People come together in the middle of this field. They're playing cornhole, they're playing frisbee, they're jamming, they're sitting around talking, shooting the shit. It's one of the first festivals that I've been to in a while that everybody hangs out together as a community. And that's something that I think has really kind of been lost in some festivals, especially as they get bigger. Another prop to the venue is that I like the way that OJ and his team do this. So when you go to other festivals, even CaveFest or anything, there's going to be a big line of porta-johns, right? And it's usually in one central location. And what that causes is you'll go and you'll end up standing in line to go to the porta-john, or you have to hike across camp. The way that OJ did it, throughout the property, there's 2 to 3 to 4 porta-johns scattered about every 100 feet. So when you got to go, right? And at Lazy Jam, you don't have to walk too far to go, especially if you've been drinking some beers. If it's the middle of the night, nobody wants to get up and hike across camp, especially if you're a female and you can't just pee in the woods very easily. I really thought that the way they did the logistics of the festival with how people got around and how porta potties were managed and where the food vendors were, it was really, really well organized and convenient. And that kind of goes along with the theme because it's Lazy Jam. You're there to be lazy and kind of hang out and have a good time. The thing that's great about Lazy Jam is people show up with this attitude of, I've known you forever. And that's just really the whole thing, right? Like I've never been so welcomed. And again, I'm coming from Ohio, so I'm a couple states away, but it was just such a welcoming environment with everybody. And everybody kind of gave you always the benefit of the doubt and welcome you to the community. And you'll see a video at the end of this show, at the end of the news show, that shows you a little bit of the campfire jam. I was so impressed with after the show ended. I think One Under was done at about 1 o'clock in the morning, maybe a little bit after. But right after that, the bonfire started up right behind the stage. And that's the big community fire where everybody came and gathered around the fire from various different camps. And yeah, there were little offshoot fires and camps and whatnot. But everybody came around and gathered around the fire. And the next thing you know, there's drums and there's guitars and somebody brought an upright bass. And it was a full out jam until like 4 in the morning. And it was and the performers were there and everything. So people are singing and it was great. It was just a wonderful thing. But Friday night, I was able to get some video of One Under. And so if you don't know One Under, we've had Ed McGee on the show, who is one of my favorite musicians and storytellers, probably of all time. And I say that very genuinely. Like I've been listening to Ed's music for at least 15, maybe not 18 years now. And I got to see One Under. These guys live scattered about. They live in all different places. And so they don't play together a lot, but every few years they come together. And what was so impressive to me is with probably very little rehearsal, these guys are good enough musicians that they were just as tight as you can get. So let's check out One Under for a little bit.
Neighbors, neighbor Nate here, leaving the burning city of Columbus. There's a big fire today to head to Hartsville, Indiana for Lazy Jam. One Under's tonight. They're going to be on fire. Stay tuned to the Instagram channel. There'll be coverage. Cheers.
So that is One Under, and that was Ed McGee. And again, such a great performance. There will be more videos on the YouTube channel that have Ed and One Under, at least what I was able to grab from my phone, because the only footage that I have from the weekend was what was taken from my phone and automatically uploaded into the cloud. Everything else was unfortunately gone. But there were other bands there, and unfortunately all that footage was gone because my stupid phone overheats if I try to use it too much. And so I wasn't able to use it. But I do want to mention them. So I learned about Magnolia Boulevard, and apparently these guys were a last-minute addition to the festival. They're from Lexington, Kentucky. You have to check Magnolia Boulevard out. You can see they played at Lazy Jam. There's the rest of their tour schedule up there. I will play a little bit of, I'll have some videos on the channel that'll have just a little bit of audio from them, but just a fantastic band in terms of the vocals and the jams and the music. And if you were there, I know that everybody who's watching that was actually at the festival is nodding their heads right now and just blown away. This was a jaw drop moment for these guys. So definitely on my Spotify playlist now, if you have a chance to see Magnolia Boulevard. They were fantastic. And I didn't even realize this, but it looks like they've done some play with Chris Jacobs, who we've talked about on the show before, as well as Kendall Street Company. So it seems like, and even Blues Traveler, which I didn't even know Blues Traveler was still playing. I'm a huge John Popper fan. But definitely check out Magnolia Boulevard. It's just a great band. Female vocalist somewhere. I mean, there were some songs that reminded me of Adele, some songs that reminded me of Macy Gray, with that jam band, kind of blues. It was just an interesting feel. They do some Dead. If you go on their YouTube channel, they do some Dead songs. Just a really, really great band. So that was Magnolia Boulevard. Next up were the Debutantes. So this was Saturday afternoon, and the only way I can describe these guys is they are a bluegrass orchestra. So bluegrass band, but then go ahead and throw in a cello, and I think maybe it's a viola. I don't know if it's a violin or viola, but there's two violin-esque type instruments. And the harmonies were just unbelievable, right? Like these guys were just crazy in terms of how in sync they were with the harmonies. So check out their Facebook page, check out their YouTube channel. I do have to give special mention, and I don't know her name, but the gal who plays the cello might have been one of the funnest people I got to watch perform all weekend, because she just grabbed that cello and was dancing around and swinging and twirling and doing all kinds of stuff. Great solos, great vocals, just a fantastic band to check out. So if you're into bluegrass, definitely give the Debutantes a look. They are doing well for themselves in terms of their style of bluegrass. This is a band that has made my Spotify. I'm definitely following them, and I'm definitely on the lookout to see where they're going to play next. And any of these folks, if you're watching this, if you happen to watch this, I would love to have you guys on the show to talk about your music, because I was just so impressed with the performances this weekend. So that is the Debutantes. And then I would be remiss to not mention Austin and the Sid Experience. So this one makes my heart heavy, because I talked to these guys a couple weeks ago, and I got to hang out with Austin and Sid. I think they're just great people. Austin, again, kind of reared in Hookahvilles. An amazing guitar player. In fact, he sat down at the campfire. You'll hear a little bit of it at the end of the show, but he sat down at the campfire with a resonator guitar that just had an amazing sound, and man, can that guy play this. And then Sid starts singing, and I do have to mention this. What Sid brings to music festivals in terms of not just her vocals, because she's an amazing vocalist, but her style as well. The way that she dresses, the fans. What I really appreciated about Lazy Jam, and you can tell all the women are looking for a hero, because it's very much a guy-dominated kind of band culture at these festivals sometimes, right? And I think you're seeing that start to change. We've talked about Sierra Hall. I'll see Molly Tuttle in the Golden Highway when I go to Renewal this week. But what Sid brings is just this different style, this soulful style, this blues style, mixed with a little bit of Hendrix. That's how I would describe Austin and Sid, is they each kind of imbibe Jimi Hendrix in different ways. But then Sid always has the fans, and what I saw in the audience was all the women brought fans, and they're all like standing, dancing in front of the stage with fans. And I just feel like that's a brand presence. And I do have to mention, if you look to the very left of this picture, that guy with the bass guitar, his name is John Zook. And Johnny Zook was always one of my favorite bassists when I was in college, because he used to play with Mike Perkins. We used to go see Mike Perkins a lot in Columbus. So I was a huge fan. I had no idea that Johnny Zook was in the band up until I saw him. So just a great band. And I'm really disappointed that I lost the video, because I had great drone footage of them. I was going to be able to put together a pretty good video of these guys. So Austin, Sid, I'm sorry, guys. I had good intentions, and I'll probably never get those cards back, but I will be following you guys, and I will do it again at some point. But just stellar performances. And I actually had to leave probably about 3/4 of the way through the second set of Austin and the Sid Experience, just to make sure I got home at a decent time. But it was great. Another performer that I want to mention is Nat Reeb. And, Nat Reeb played the tweener sets, right? So in between all the sets, as they're resetting the stage, moving instruments and things like that, Nat Reeb is getting on at a second stage behind the stage and just playing solo stuff, taking requests live, and not only just playing great music, but having a lot of fun doing it. So we'll play a little bit of Nat so you guys can see what he was up to.
Back my boat, I'm gonna sail the river ship float. I got them deep river blues. I'm going back to my soul shows. Things are better there, I'm told. I got them deep river blues. You know, I got them deep river blues. Let the rain drive right on, let the wind sweep all along. You know, I got them deep river blues.
Nat Reeve, everybody, Nat Reeve. So if you are a part of the hookah crowd, you're going to recognize that's a John Mullins song. John passed away a few years back, and Nat sings just like him. He just has this voice that reminds me of John so much, and so he's taken that upon himself to learn all the songs. And he it's interesting what Nat does because it's almost cathartic for people, right? People miss John, and Nat keeps his music alive in a very real way. And you heard people yelling in the background. I mean, I saw people tear up when he was playing, but Nat's also a great guy. I actually, he offered me a beer. I saw him come up and I said, "Hey, Nat Reeve," and whatnot. And the next thing you know, he's giving me a beer and we're hanging out by the stage. But all around great performer. And it was so great to see Nat. Rating wise in this festival, and I promise you folks, I'm going to find a festival that I don't like and I'm going to give it a shitty rating. This is not that festival. Lazy Jam is a solid Neighbor Nate 10 out of 10. I had so much fun in the day and a half that I was there, even beyond, losing all the footage and all the shit that happened afterwards. I have no regrets. It was so great to be there with all of you guys at Lazy Jam, get to know you, feel welcome. I think OJ said it best. Like, there's magic in those trees and you really feel it. And there's a lot of memory, right? Like people remembering John. And I do want to mention Jay. I did not know Jay. I don't even know Jay's last name, but I know that Jay was OJ's best friend. And I got to talk to Jay's kids, and Jay passed away earlier this year. I think it was in July. And I never got to know Jay, but after being there and seeing this community around this place that this guy clearly influenced, right? I can tell you that Jay is going to live on for a long time. And I really like the fact that they had a big cutout of Jay's face. I think you saw it in one of the videos. And anytime something was happening, when we all went to the campfire, somebody went and grabbed Jay and moved him to the campfire. So Jay was there all weekend. And it just, hats off to you, Jay, wherever you are, brother. You put something into play that's going to last, and you brought a community of people together that really give a shit. So yeah, man, hats off to you. Rest in peace, brother. You did some good in this world, and that was awesome. I do also want to give mention to this too. So I got to meet Sue Ellen. I had never actually talked to Sue Ellen that much. You guys might remember Jeff and Sue Ellen from a few episodes ago that got married at Hookahville. And I got talking to Sue Ellen, and she turned me on to this. This is the Athens Photo Project. And I have a soft spot for Athens, Ohio. I used to be tied with, and I still am tied with, Ohio University. And so I spend a lot of times in Athens. And this is a project that Sue Ellen's working on. I don't know what her involvement is yet. We're going to talk after I get back from renewal. But this is an interesting project to me because it's a community of artists that's using photography for self-expression, and it's part of a mental health recovery journey. And I'll be the first to admit, like, that's kind of what this video shit is for me. It's a creative outlet. It's a way for me to kind of make peace with music festivals and be able to go and the last year of my life, year and a half of my life has been a little bit up and down. I've been through some shit, and I do find that having that creative expression with video and even photos is good for me, right? And that's what this Athens Photo Project is. So I'm very interested to learn more about this project and more about Sue Ellen's involvement. And hat tip to Sue Ellen and Jay for just being cool folks and talking to me this weekend. It was really good to hang out with you guys. But yeah, Lazy Jam is a 10 out of 10. This is one of those music festivals that I hope it doesn't get too big, because I don't ever want it to lose what it has today. And that's this large kind of family campout feel that's just so unique in music festivals. And so that's it for this week on Music Festivals Podcast. I am going to be heading to renewal Wednesday morning. I'm going to Buena Vista, Colorado. I'm going to meet up with some folks there. And I'm going to cover that festival as best I can. I've got new camera gear on the way. So yeah, you can get kicked in the teeth a little bit, but it doesn't knock you completely down. And I'll be back with some stuff on that. Thanks again for tuning in. There's over 500 of you now, which is humbling and scary and crazy, because now I feel really obligated that I got to do good shit. But yeah, there's over 500 of you now who subscribe to this. So thank you so much for that. If this is the first time you're watching the show and you like what you see, go ahead and head over to musicfestivalspodcast.com. You can subscribe there any way you want. If you want the audio, you can get the audio on your podcast networks. You can subscribe to YouTube. You can drop your email in and get all of it. And if you're on any of those networks, go ahead and rate the show. Any ratings you give is helpful. Music Festivals Podcast is a production of NR Media Group. And as always, I am your host, Neighbor Nate, and I hope to be your neighbor at the next festival. If you will be at Renewal, maybe I'll see you at Billy Strings Renewal. I'm so excited to go to this festival. I'm going to leave you with a little bit of the campfire from Lazy Jam, and you're going to hear a little bit of Austin Johnson from Austin and the Sid Experience play some guitar. But yeah, thanks, Lazy Jam. That was a great weekend.
You better leave it. All the best put you down. 'Cause there's one thing I can't stay, and that's all while pushing you around. 'Cause when things go wrong with you,
Hey, neighbors, it's about 5:30 in the morning on Wednesday, getting ready to head to Billy Strings Renewal, but I just wanted to put a quick update to you. I was able to get the majority of my gear back yesterday. Hats off to the local police in Bexley for being super quick and diligent on the investigation. They were able to track down through serial numbers some of the gear that had been tried to be resold at a local pawn shop. And so yesterday I went up to the local pawn shop expecting to only get back a GoPro. Guy brings out a box from the back that has about 80% of my stuff. In fact, the only thing I didn't recover was the drone, unfortunately, which had the great drone footage. So I don't have that footage, but all the cards were still in the cameras. So I actually do still have footage from Lazy Jam. I do not have time to go back and re-edit the episode. It's Wednesday. I recorded this episode Tuesday and Wednesday. So by the time you actually see this, I will be in Cottonwood Meadows or at Cottonwood Meadows for Billy Strings Renewal in a camper van, probably sleeping because it'll be an early day there. But when I get back, I'm going to put together some additional videos. So Austin Sid, I've got footage from you guys. Magnolia Boulevard, I've got footage from you guys. Debutantes, I've got a bunch of footage there, and I've got a bunch of other great footage from the camp and talking to people and just, you know, activities that were going on. But I'm super stoked. So hats off to Bexley PD for doing a great job. Yeah, everything worked out really, really well. So whatever good vibes you guys were sending my way, thank you very much. Because yeah, I got it back. So that's pretty cool. Cheers.